Everything can be taken away from man except one thing. Guys, what's up and welcome back to Mental Fitness with Neeha, the workout for your mind. Firstly, thank you so much for 1000 subscribers. Really grateful for every single one of y'all. So thank you. In this video, we're going to be looking at the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This is one of the most popular, most recommended self-help books, and that's why I was very excited to cover it. So what's in this book for you? Essentially, Viktor Frankl is one of the survivors of the Nazi concentration camps, and he explains that in order to thrive, and in more extreme cases, in order to survive, we need to have some kind of meaning in life. Think about it. Usually, what makes you excited? You think about the future, your exciting plans. That is what keeps us excited, keeps us going in life. But what about the prisoners in the Nazi concentration camps? They had no grand future to look forward to. In fact, it was uncertain even if they had a future to look forward to. So Viktor Frankl, the author of the book, was actually a psychotherapist. He wanted to understand how can we make someone realize that their life has meaning and they have a responsibility to life despite however grim and bad their circumstances. I'm sure that all of us to some extent have an idea of how life was in the Nazi concentration camps, but in the book there's this one excerpt which really helps you understand how bad it was. Frankl one night saw one of the prisoners who was really having a terrible nightmare and was shaking, literally shaking in his sleep. And he went to wake him up. And he was just going to wake him up when he realized that he shouldn't, because no matter how pathetic a nightmare he was having, it couldn't be worse than the reality, which was the concentration camp he was in. So I found that particularly moving and thought that would add context as to how bad life was and how inhuman the conditions were. What's interesting to note is that despite all this, some prisoners still survived. Do the prisoners' reactions to the concentration camp prove that man can escape the influence of his surroundings? So this book keeps saying man, and I know it's excluding my own gender, but it's just man's search for meaning, and man has been generalized to talk about the human species. So just let's overlook that. If two people are in the same circumstance, can they still have two different outlooks on life, and can they have two different outcomes, or are they bound by their influences? All the prisoners in the concentration camps were bound to the same surroundings, and it seems as though they were prone to reacting in the same way. It becomes clear in the book that the sort of person a prisoner becomes was a result of their inner decision and not really a result of the camp influences alone. And this proves that man can, even in the most terrible conditions, preserve their spiritual and mental freedom. What boils down to one of the main pointers of the book, that basically everything can be taken away from man except one thing. To choose one's attitude in a given set of circumstances. That's always a choice that you make. Now let's come to the actual point I've been trying to build on to. Who are the prisoners who survived? People who didn't let go of their inner selves. The people who survived, it was all based on where they placed their focus on. So some prisoners chose to imagine their loved ones and reminisce about the past. So love was a common theme that brought fulfillment to the prisoners. Another set of people turned to nature and tried to look at the sun, the flowers, and find joy in small things. Some people turned to humor and thought of the future and imagine how funny would it be when they go back to their actual life. So on observing all this, what Frankl came up with his theory called logotherapy. So logotherapy states that striving to find a meaning in one's life is the primary motivational force of a man. It's the primary thing that drives a person. In the camp, any attempt to restore their original will to live had to start by showing them a future, to show them some kind of future goal. Essentially, without a strong why, they had no aim and no purpose, so they had no point of carrying on living. And here Frankl actually quotes Nietzsche, which says that you had to give them a why strong enough to live to overcome the terrible how of their existence. So this why to live, or this meaning that you need to find in life, is unique to each individual alone. And it doesn't have to be something grand or of great consequence. It simply comes down to your set of circumstances at that point in time. In the concentration camps, every single circumstance was designed to let the prisoners lose their hold and give up on life. The way that they bore their suffering and to be worthy of their suffering was what kept them going, what gave their life meaning. According to the book, there are three main ways that we find a purpose in life. Number one is by fulfilling some sort of creative work or expression. Number two is by experiencing another human fully, which is love. And number three is in your attitude towards your existence, which is For example, to find meaning in your suffering, which is what happened in the concentration camps. Now, let's come to today. Why is this book still relevant today? Basically, when we are unable to find some kind of meaning in our life, you feel an inner emptiness, like a void within yourself, which Viktor Frankl calls an existential vacuum. It's basically a feeling of total and ultimate meaninglessness of your life. And the thing is, you don't have to go through serious existential trauma like the prisoners did to feel this existential vacuum. It's actually one of the most widespread phenomenon of this century, and I've definitely felt it at some point in my life. For example, if I've been working on an assignment for really long and I submit it, after that I'm like, now what? I'm sure you felt this too at some point, that you just feel like an inner emptiness in your life. There's actually a term for this called Sunday neurosis, which affects people who become aware of the lack of content in their lives on a Sunday afternoon when they have nothing to do after their fully busy week is over. In fact, a survey shows that 25% European students and 60% of American students have this existential vacuum. And how this vacuum manifests itself is in a state of boredom. You just feel bored. There's a misconception about mental health that what man needs is a tension-less state, like absolutely peace and calm. Your mental health is actually based on a certain degree of tension. And that tension is between where you are right now and where you wish to reach and what you want to become. What we actually need is to be striving for a worthwhile goal that we think is worthy. That is where finding a meaning in life and having some kind of potential to fulfill is important for every single person. My take on this is that if the prisoners in concentration camps in those circumstances could find meaning in their life, so can we. Now that I've hopefully established how important it is to find a meaning in your life, let's understand how to find this meaning. A lot of people believe that to start making the right choices in life, you need to first find your purpose and find your meaning in life, and then you'll be able to accordingly make the right choice. Logotherapy actually advocates an opposite approach. Logotherapy states that it's how we act and the responsibility that we feel towards our choices that determines our meaning in life. For example, the prisoners in the concentration camp were able to act their way into finding meaning in life. For example, their decision to look to beauty in nature, their decision to give others food even when they themselves didn't have food. So they felt a certain responsibility towards their choices, and that gave them meaning in life. So what the book says is that what is needed is a fundamental change in our attitude towards life. It's not about what we expect from life, but about what life expects from us. We need to stop thinking about the meaning of life, but think of ourselves as those who are being questioned by life. Ultimately, life comes down to taking responsibility for it and to fulfill the tasks that life sets for each unique individual. The prisoners in the concentration camp found that it was their destiny to suffer, and therefore the task of suffering was their single and unique task. Luckily for us, we have slightly better tasks. Another thing that gives meaning to our existence is love. Someone who becomes aware of the responsibility that they have towards a human being who affectionately waits for them every single day and looks forward to them coming back home would never be able to throw away their life, because they know the why of their existence and therefore they can bear anyhow. To summarize in one line, logotherapy essentially sees responsibility as the very essence of human existence. You see what life asks of you and choose to be responsible for your life. As long as you feel some sense of responsibility towards your life and realize that you have the ability to choose your attitude in any circumstance, that is what will give you your unique meaning in life. And yeah, the key message of this book is that our ability to survive and our ability to thrive depends on finding our meaning in life. And this is unique to everyone. Realize that you have a responsibility towards your life. Honestly, this was a very deep book that made me also think about a lot of things, and I hope that I was able to explain it nicely. I know it's a bit deep of a concept, but maybe read the book. It will help you understand it better. So that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and let me know in the comments below which book you'd like next or which podcast guest I should bring on next. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.